afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this webinar today entitled Accelerating Your Search for Talented Data Engineers. My name is Amul. I am the Chief Operating Officer at North Coders, and I'll just give you a bit of a rundown of the format and the agenda, and then we can begin. So I'm going to start off with a bit of an introduction on the subject of the search of data engineers. I'm then going to move over to a chat with our head of data engineering, Joe Mulvey, about what North Coders does to source, select and train data engineers. And then we're going to come back to a kind of mini presentation for myself, explaining how we can help you shortlist, deploy, upskill, progress and retain these engineers into your organisations. And there'll be time at the end for questions. And you feel free to ask a question whenever you want by typing the question in, and we'll come back to them at the end. And you can type in questions using any of the formats that you're watching on today, be it StreamYard, be it YouTube, or be it LinkedIn. So let's crack on with an introduction to the subject. So according to LinkedIn's emerging job report, the hiring growth rate of data engineers has increased by 35%. The data engineering role is ranked 8th, which makes it one of the most booming jobs. This means that it's now harder than ever for companies to hire and retain talents in this flourishing industry. 2023 is set to be another year of massive growth and change in this arena. The tsunami of digital transformation that has gripped businesses will continue across the board, and we will see more and more organizations focus on data-driven decisions and strategies. And in reality, this actually means that those decisions will be based on what they know rather than hunches or feelings. Goes without saying that analytics and data constantly evolve, but new technologies are now delivering quicker and more precise insights. The real key to making those all-important data decisions and ultimately maximizing potential and driving growth will be the ability to rely on clean, useful, well-organized and easily accessible data. With over 2.5 quintillion bytes of data generated every day, data engineers are busier than ever. The more information we collect, the more we can do with it. Whilst the demand for experienced data engineers rises exponentially, the supply of them is most definitely finite. That is why after many years of successfully creating a new and ever-growing pipeline of software engineers, North Coders decided in 2022 to branch off and start delivering a new discipline in data engineering. I'm doing this in order to create a new breed of pipeline of data engineers. North Coders' vision is to create a world where everybody's second language is code. So it goes without saying that all of our data engineers will be natural and brilliant coders. Here in a moment, as I said, to tell us about our data engineering curriculum and explain what our first cohort of data engineers are capable of is our head of data engineering, Joe Mulvey. But we didn't want to just stop at training, at the boot camp, at a curriculum. We speak to many businesses on a daily basis, and they tell us that it's hard to assimilate junior engineering talent into their businesses. They don't have enough experienced technical professionals to support them, but they also can't find enough of those experienced engineers in the first place themselves. It creates a catch-22 situation, and therefore, whilst a company or an organisation or a business is just looking for experienced talent, they're then not bringing new people in to seed and grow that ever-needing talent pool. So that's why we've created something called the Accelerated Data Engineer, giving our data engineering graduates a pathway and wraparound support to accelerate their journeys with you to become your experienced team members. So after our chat with Joe, I will tell you about North Coders' Accelerated Data Engineers and how you can bring them into your team. So let's crack on. Hello, Joe. How you doing? Give us a bit of an introduction to yourself.
Sure. I'm Joe Mulvey. As with most people at North Coders, I'm a graduate of North Coders myself. Left here about 5.5 years ago, quite in one of the early cohorts graduated by North Coders. I went straight into the data engineering team at Auto Trader for a couple of years, where we were building out their data platform. That was really valuable experience. I moved on to a company in the fintech sector, and thereafter to consultancy. So I've had that time in the industry. Joined North Coders about 6 months ago. Prior to North Coders, I was a teacher, so the move into North Coders is really because I can balance those two aspects of my career. I can do some teaching along with the technical knowledge that I've gained over the past 5.5 years.
So we basically plucked you back out of industry, having done some amazing things after you kind of finished North Coders.
Yes.
What brought you back? What was there?
I think this is a sweet spot for me in terms of there's teaching, there's working with people that I know and respect, including you, Amul, and there's technical challenge, keeping up to date with this particular sector of the industry, designing a curriculum really satisfying as well. So it's kind of in a really good place for what I want to do.
Yeah, no, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you back in the building, so to speak. So, tell us about the sorts of people on our first cohort, and about the selection process, and kind of what drives all the thinking behind getting those people onto our course.
Sure, I think it's probably best to start with the selection process. The data engineering course mirrors the software engineering course in lots of ways, and the entry process is much the same. We don't have formal qualification requirements.
Yep.
We bring in a very broad range of people from all walks of life and all sorts of backgrounds. But we do have a fairly rigorous selection process. Only about 1 in 10 make it through. The process broadly is that we provide candidates with some preparatory material on the fundamentals of coding, some fundamental JavaScript, and they're meant to self-study that for a little while, and then they come back and do an entry challenge in the presence of a North Coders mentor that's meant to test their understanding of that and how they explain their solutions. And it's a really good way of exposing weaknesses in knowledge and in capability. And as I said, we're really quite selective, but not on traditional criteria. So we end up with a range of people, some of whom have minimal school qualifications, some of whom are educated to PhD level. And there's a not completely clear link between that educational attainment and performance on the course. It's quite. We find that there are surprises on both sides there.
And any so we've got a cohort of 15 data engineers. We graduated from our first cohort. We finished on Friday. Any tell us about any of those that
Yeah, we've got people who are coming from many years in various kinds of employment sector, customer service, for example. We've got a medical school graduate or a qualified doctor. We've got a historian, a medieval historian of theology. So we've got a lot of different, very intelligent, very capable people on the course.
Coming from all walks of life, really.
From all walks of life,
fantastic.
indeed.
So we've got the people, and we've got how they've made it to start course with us. So talk us through the thought process for the design of the course, and highlighting the things that are very specific to the data engineering qualities and skills that they might require in industry.
Sure. So about 6 months ago, when I started, I think that the key starting point was first of all to define what a data engineer is, because I think there's a wide range of roles that fall under that particular heading. The core, the intersection of all of those roles, if you like, the kind of core that's common to most of those seems to be a good grounding in software. Data engineers typically use Java, Scala, or Python, possibly some of the newer languages like Go or Rust in their work. We've chosen to go with Python. Obviously, it's a good language for entry-level programmers to learn, but very widely used in the industry, and lots of really good support for data applications. They learn also additional data skills, obviously, on top of what they would learn in the standard software course, advanced SQL techniques, data modeling, the design of data warehouses, and that sort of thing. Data engineering is a discipline that lives largely in the cloud, and so we also include a large dollop of cloud engineering. We use AWS for that purpose, but as with the rest of the course, we try to keep it as generally applicable as possible, as tech agnostic as possible, so that the principles they learn should be applicable in any cloud environment. They learn good DevOps practices like CI/CD, infrastructure as code, and the kind of principles they'll need to build robust platforms in the future.
Excellent. And as with, the big thing that I always say about North Coders is we don't really teach people to code, we teach people to teach themselves to code. Tell us how you've kind of mirrored that within the data engineering bootcamp. Sure.
So for a start, a large chunk of the bootcamp is common. They learn the fundamentals of coding along with their peers in the software course. But of course, the real crux of the matter is a project. And we've built the entire course around a particular project structure that we want our students to look at, and they will operate and have operated in independent teams whereby they have to deliver a solution unsupervised by us, at least technically, while they do that. I have a visual that describes the basic structure of what we're looking at. This is essentially the foundation task of any data engineers to bring transactional data into play for analytics. And we've envisaged a system, and we've simulated a system whereby we have some transactional data and some data sources, and we seek to bring that into a general purpose data platform where it can be the data can be remodeled and then loaded into a data warehouse. And from there, it could be used for a variety of data analytics purposes. And the whole idea is to do this in a well-engineered and well-structured way. So the structure of the course is built around the code requirements they would need to do this, the cloud requirements they would need to do this, the data requirements they would need to do this, and the project itself is built on this so-called lakehouse architecture.
Fantastic. And so they worked in teams in the projects. How did that go? How did that transpire in reality? And kind of what are the supporting softer skill sets, things they learned that will be useful in roles?
Yeah, so it's quite similar to how things go in our software course, actually. First of all, students on the whole surprised on the upside in terms of how they performed with the tech. All of them managed to successfully create the minimum viable product of ingesting data, processing it, and populating a data warehouse. I think the real learning points for them are kind of behavioral, working in an agile environment, documenting that work, writing planning their work through tools like Kanban and Trello and so on, and breaking that very large task up into smaller and smaller chunks. So that I think that's been a real key point for them. Throughout this we've tried to emphasize some principles. I think we have a visual on that as well. Yep, coming up. So we have the data engineering manifesto here. I tried to make it 3 points. It didn't fit into 3 points. So we've gone with 7, which sounds like a good number. But we need to understand the engineering robustness that needs to go along with this project. Ideally, I'd like to see a well-engineered minimum viable product rather than having a loosely engineered or badly engineered product with all the bells and whistles that they could add. So we're pushing them to produce solutions that are useful, reliable, monitored, resilient, organized, adaptable, and secure. In the course of a 2.5-week project, I don't expect novices to produce a fully working project that's compliant with all of those principles, but it's certainly something they're aware of and that they're aiming for and that they understand the value of.
I'm loving the 1980s word gift there.
Yeah.
Excellent. No, I mean, it sounds like we know that they are now steeped and ready for roles, and that you've given them not just the skill sets, but the practices and the good engineering practices. I mean, I was never worried about that bringing you back, but yeah, no, I'm loving the design. I totally think they're going to be in a good place. So, I guess to start wrapping up the Q&A with yourself, what sort of roles do you expect that our data engineering graduates could go into?
Yeah, so I think again, it's we go back to this point. We have not built this course around a very particular data stack. We're not training people in a particular ETL tool or even in a particular language. They do some JavaScript, they do some Python, but all through this we're emphasizing general principles. So the idea is to produce a junior engineer who can fit into a variety of roles, and those roles could be in a building data-intensive applications, building platforms such as we've seen on the diagram, perhaps data operations, cataloging, governance, that sort of role, visualization could be a role. There are some of our students are highly qualified in scientific subjects and have good mathematical backgrounds. Some of them could easily fit into roles that involve machine learning or machine learning operations, could cross over into the data science world with a really good grounding in engineering, or just be really good cloud aware, cloud proficient platform engineers who are especially suited to data intensive applications.
Fantastic. So the idea is at this stage is we've got great raw talent. We make sure they're correct for the course. We make sure they're brilliant software engineers, and we give them a toolkit and a kind of methodology around becoming great data engineers that touches databases, that touches data warehouses, that make sure they understand how to engineer all of this in the cloud, that then allows them to go and do a variety of different things with data in the tech industry.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fantastic.
That's the idea.
Awesome, thank you so much. Thanks for coming back to North Coders and heading up our data engineering practice, Joe. And
it's still my pleasure.
Fantastic. So yes, so if you think these people can fit in your team, we don't want to just we didn't want to just create a way in which you would then have to take the responsibility of these people, and we want to work with you. So in supporting their growth and making sure they can deliver business value to your business, to your organisation as quickly as possible. So that's why we created, what we would like to coin a North Coders Accelerated Data Engineer. And what is a North Coders Accelerated Data Engineer here? I hear you ask. So as I mentioned in the intro, if you're having challenges bringing experienced data engineers into your team, then deploying one of these accelerated data engineers will mean that with our support, you can very quickly grow your own experienced engineers. And the added benefit of doing it this way is that they become experienced not just as data engineers, but also in your business, in your tech stack and products, and in your culture. So how does it work? That's the next question I hear you ask. Well, it's a 12-month subscription-based contract to hire model that gives the data engineers deployed into your business with wraparound support from us, so they can accelerate quickly in their journey from junior to experienced. In short, this means that we will select and provide you with a shortlist of engineers from our graduate pool, of those interested in your organisation, before deploying to your business, we'll provide them with training materials to upskill them in the specific technologies and requirements of your business. And then once they've landed and for the duration of the contract, that 12-month period, they will get a bunch of things to ensure their progression, development, and ultimately, as I said, to give you that business value as quickly as possible. So things that we do, we cover as a DevOps in Detail series of courses that we deliver. There's a people skills and leadership series of courses we deliver. There's a monthly drop-in with one of our seniors, and at the beginning of this period, it will be Joe that they're dropping into on that monthly basis. They have some kind of support here and an ear and an ability to pick up problems and unpick those problems for them. And then they will also get some DevOps masterclasses throughout the year. And the whole point is that we want to make sure that your people that you're bringing into your team via this deployment contract to hire model, that they always feel supported, they always feel like they're progressing. And ultimately, the fact that you're investing in them in this way will mean that they will want to stay with your business, because retention is the key for us to support you with not just brilliant people, but brilliantly supported people who understand your business, understand your culture, understand your tech stack, so that they can then thrive in the coming years. So you're not having to dip into a kind of finite pool of data engineers, but you're creating a new breed, a new pool of data engineers that will be unique to your business. And I guess during the later months of the programs, we will work with you and the learner to determine the best next steps for them to continue thriving within your organisation when they do become your direct employees. So that concludes kind of the presentation. I guess it's over to you and see if we have any questions coming in from the audience. So from Sam Ivory, how much crossover would the data engineers have in their platform and their also analytical roles, e.g. finding trends and answers from data, or are they separate roles? I think that's over to you, Joe, for that one.
Yeah, we haven't taken the students through any particular work on data analysis or the more data science side of things at all, really. This is a software role. We're getting people to understand the technology behind that data management. We do touch on machine learning operations and the processes behind that. So the kind of architecture that they would have to build up in order to ingest data, separate into training and validation sets, detect model drift, deploy models, retrain, all of that sort of stuff. But that's essentially a technological problem. In terms of how they would approach the models themselves, we're not touching on that at the moment, and it's not really a course where we would really need to assess people's mathematical ability to do that, and we're not going to do it. We're not going to go down that avenue. They are, of course, also highly concentrated on data skills. So the advanced SQL skills, that would be the bread and butter of any data analyst's life, and the data modeling skills to understand the structure of a data warehouse, for example. So I think anyone who has the interest in a particular business and, let's say, the analytical and mathematical ability, and some of our students do come with those skills, they would be able to easily upskill and be well informed with basic engineering skills in order to get into that kind of role. But it's not something we directly attack.
Okay, fantastic. And have we had any? Got some more questions coming through. So someone called James Hull, can you go over the accelerated program again? What level are the students at when they join, and what kind of costs are involved? So do you want to just summarise the level at where they join?
Yeah. So you'll be taking students at the end of the boot camp. They will have good fundamental coding skills, starting off in JavaScript, crossing over into Python. They will have, I would call, a strong intermediate level of SQL skills, able to do quite complex queries on relational databases, mostly in a Postgres world, but of course that's something that can cross over. They will have a good general understanding of third normal form, the transactional structure of a transactional database, and the structure of a basic data warehouse in terms of facts and dimensions, star schema, for example. They will have dealt with quite a high level of interaction with AWS using coded deployments to deploy computing solutions, to deploy data lake, and to deploy applications on the cloud. They should be able to alert and monitor on events in those applications. They will have, I think, some way to go in terms of making that DevOps knowledge deep, but they will be well versed in the fundamentals, I think, and will have brought all of that together in the project, and they'll have done some practical work on building a data-intensive application, essentially unsupervised. We supervise their behaviors during the course in terms of, are they running a stand-up, are they running a Kanban board, are they keeping track of the tasks that they need to do, are they breaking those tasks down, but we give them essentially no help whatsoever.
That's during project phase, right?
During project phase, we give them no help whatsoever. So they are, I think, good self-starters by the end of that.
So the entirety of the course is 13 weeks. Project phase is how long?
2 weeks for the core of the project, and we have a tidy up session of about 3 or 4 days at the end.
Right.
They present their solution at the end, create a video around it, that sort of thing. Okay,
cool. And so the accelerated program, so we take the people that Joe's just described with that skill set, and then what we do is if an organisation wants an accelerated North Coders data engineer, we ask that organisation to come and present their business, what they do, their tech stack, normal sort of hiring partner pitch to that cohort of people, and then we ask those people to apply for the role, essentially. And we will do, so part of that accelerated data engineering program is we will do the hiring process, we will do the applications, we will technically test them, and we will then put those that want to work for your organisations in front of you in a shortlist that we feel that, so that all of that kind of hiring heavy lifting is done by us, and we'll give you a short list of those that we know are capable and want to join your organisation. Once you make the final decision, we will then sit down with you and figure out some training materials that might be specific to your stack or your product, so that they've got a little bit of time before they actually are deployed into your business, making sure they're absolutely ready to be in your business, and so that they're adding value quickly. And once deployed, what you get, what the engineer gets and what you get through that kind of 12-month contract, as I said, the hiring process, the tech-specific training materials that would be suitable for your business. They get the monthly drop-in with Joe at the very start of all of this in terms of our most senior data engineering person within North Coders. They get a DevOps in Detail series of courses, which is really rich in terms of making sure that they are being able to utilize the cloud in the most effective way, in order to kind of get their data engineering and their data pipelines and everything set up as well as possible. And then on the soft side, we have a confidence and leadership set of specific training that really helps them kind of grow as people, grow as technical people, and grow as people who are going to be really great employees to have in your business. And finally, they have their kind of direct data engineering masterclasses delivered throughout the year, once a quarter, kind of on that lunch and learn workshop tip, but we'll make sure that they aren't just learning the really sort of technical skills and the people skills, but also being kept ahead of the game in terms of the things that are changing out there in the data engineering landscape. And, you know, it moves very quickly, as I sort of illustrated at the start of this. In terms of cost, James, we can go through that sort of with you in person. So at the end of this webinar, if you want to drop myself a note or any of the partnerships team at North Coders, so that's Lucy, Emma and Cole, who are concentrating on this, just drop us a note and we can sit down with you and see what your requirements are specifically and come back to you with the costs involved. Let's move on to another question that we've got. So Ed Leonard, hello Ed, how are you doing? In the 12-month subscription role, then progression to a full contract fixed, or can they move to a full contract sooner if both sides are well matched? The idea really for us with this is to give you a year's worth of support, give these people a year's worth of support. If we try and cut that down quicker, they're not going to get the benefit of that whole support package. So it's meant as a 12-month subscription for the individual. There is that ability to make sure that that person is right for your business and will replace out anyone in the very rare instance that it hasn't quite worked out with that individual, but we don't expect that to be the case. But ultimately, the idea is we want the person that will join your team at the end of the period, where there's no cost at the end for them to join your team. That's what we want. That's the outcome we are desiring out of this. That progression, but we want to also make sure that they have received all of that 12-month support. And there's no point trying to accelerate it beyond the 12 months because they need to be in role, delivering value and kind of doing stuff before they're almost ready for their next bit. So that's why it's been designed as a 12-month program. I believe that is the end of the questions today. So bang on 32 minutes. Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody that's out there. Thank you so much, Joe, for telling us all about this wonderful course we've created and helping us create 15 new data engineers. And thank you behind the scenes, James, and the rest of the marketing team for all your efforts in putting on today's event. As I said, so the actions now, if you want to get involved, is either drop us a note through the partnership channels, through LinkedIn, through hello@northcoders.com, or myself, Amul @northcoders.com, and we will get back to you and hopefully support some of these people into your organisations. Have a great afternoon and take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.